Hello, hello, hello. And
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, our followers and friends and our lovely supporting people. I do appreciate you guys. We both appreciate you. Welcome back to another Beyond the Sum of Our Parts.
yes,
So we're doing a
yes.
part two of what are we doing part two of, Jordan?
Redefining masculinity and femininity. Yes.
Yes, yes. I'm not sure if you guys, whoever didn't follow or pay attention last time we were on here, we did a whole segment on male perspective view on the topic. So this week we're doing this episode. We're doing a female's perspective on this topic. Today
Yeah.
we have Miss Mom. She's joining us, and I
Thank
do believe we have a
you.
couple of other people coming on. So Jordan, what are the questions you have for Miss Mom?
And if you are watching right now live and you want to pop on, check the comments. There's a link. You can come on and chat with us with video or just voice, whatever makes you happy. We would love to have you chat with us.
That we will. That we will.
So, for today, our first question for Miss Mom would be: how would you define masculinity and femininity? Do you feel like they're fluid or fixed concepts?
Oh, I definitely feel like they're fluid. I don't consider my
What's the
perspective.
no? I'm sorry.
I'm
What's the
sorry,
noise in the background?
ice cream man.
Oh. Okay.
Sorry about that. I can't
I
control
was
that.
like, for some reason, I had a cranking for ice cream, and I was like, why? And then I hear the music. I'm like, wait a minute. What is that? Is that an alarm? Okay. Okay. Continue. Continue. My bad.
And I tried to go to the part of the house that would be the most quiet, and fortunately, I guess was for the kids around the neighborhood. But yeah, the ice cream man just passed, but he's gone now. So, going back, I don't think my perspective is necessarily a female perspective. I think it's just a perspective, and I kind of try to shy away from those kinds of labels because I think it boxes you into certain things, and I don't necessarily like to have a list and make sure that I check off the list. So again, this is just my perspective, not necessarily the female perspective.
Yeah.
There's certain things about masculinity and femininity that are bound by science. I mean, the physical attributes of what's masculine and what's feminine,
Right.
genitalia, hormones, chromosomes, etc. Those are not really debatable.
Right.
And then there's some generalities that we have. Most men are stronger and bigger than women, and I guess those are more debatable, but still they are what they are.
Right.
But the perceptions of masculinity and femininity that we think about when we ask that question, I think have to do with what society says. And I think again, if we let those social constructs determine what we think, then I don't think there's any critical thinking involved. I think it's important that we think for ourselves and not conform to just what society says, because I think
Right.
that's what causes a lot of the I don't know, disharmony between people in relationships.
Right.
I'm sorry.
I was agreeing. Yeah.
Okay. um, because of that, and because of how there are some people who will stand up to them and say, well, just because that's how we've always been doing it is not necessarily right. That's why those societal constructs change over time. Like I remember my dad used to say that a man shouldn't be wearing jewelry.
Mm,
That's my husband still won't get a manicure because they believe that those are non-masculine things.
right.
Things like clothes. Guys didn't wear pink. Now guys wear pink. Traditional careers. You know, a woman is a hairstylist. A woman is a teacher. A woman is a nurse. A man is a
Okay.
mechanic. A man is a truck driver, and a cop, or whatever. And there was no, and interchanging. And now we see that has changed. Women's participation in sports.
Right.
I believe in recent years we see that not only are more women participating in sports, but excelling in sports. And then we have the traditional gender roles as women as nurturers, the ones that take care of the children, the ones who cook and clean around the house. Well, men are seen as a protector and provider. Like I said, I don't necessarily subscribe to those gender roles. First of all, I think that if you're gonna be in a relationship, it's important that you know who you are first and that you
Right.
are independent first, man or woman. that self-reliance is important. As a little girl, my dad taught me how to change a tire and how to change oil, how to swing a hammer, and fortunately, my husband's mom did the same with him. She taught him how to sew, how to cook, how to clean, and we're both pretty self-reliant. So we don't we depend on each other, but not because we can't do something. It's just because
Right.
in a relationship, I think it should be teamwork. Um, we talk. I heard in the last segment that you guys had somebody calling it old school and new school. You know how those gender roles were just the given back in the day. But I think of my great grandmother. I take it back. The lady who I called my great grandmother, she was actually my great aunt, and she had her own child, and then she had sisters who had a bunch of kids. And unfortunately, the her sisters passed away at a young age, so
Mm.
she ended up taking care of her children. Now we're talking about back in the 1930s and 40s, and she had to take care of all these kids. Her husband wasn't having it. He said, "No, this is not what I signed up for." So he left. So here you have a single woman taking care of her child and all these other children. She had to be the provider, the protector. Um, she had to be strong. She had to be courageous. These are all attributes that many people feel are masculine attributes, but she was the ultimate caretaker. She was the ultimate nurturer. So she was no less feminine. She just did what she had to do. And, you know, that I guess from a very young age, I had those familial stories that I guess shaped my perspective of what's masculine and feminine, because I don't believe I think there's more of a difference between boy and man and girl and woman than there are differences as far as what an adult is supposed to do, whether you're male or female. Another thing that I heard back in the previous segment, I don't remember exactly what it was, but something about if some guy talks to a woman, in a disrespectful manner, that the man is supposed to protect her. I say, first of all, if someone says something to me, I don't need somebody to fight with me over that. Now, obviously if somebody puts their hands on me, that's a different story. But as far as protection, my husband is a truck driver, so there's a lot of times when I'm home by myself, and I admit when I'm out in the streets and I'm with him versus when I'm by myself, I do feel safer. But when he's
Right.
not home, I got two other guys keeping me safe, Smith and Wesson.
I
So,
hear that.
so
Hey, okay, like tell us how you really feel. Okay, okay,
but
all right.
but you know what I'm saying is
Chitty chitty bang bang.
it's all about what your needs are,
Right.
and just being self-reliant. Um, Not just for yourself, but for the other person. You don't want to go into a relationship being needy,
Right.
either man or woman. You want to be able to do things for yourself, because now you have more to offer in the relationship. You wanna need your partner because you love him or her. You don't want to love them because you need them. I think that's a very big distinction that I think, I don't know. I think if you are self-reliant and can contribute to the relationship, I think it just makes for a more successful
A
relationship.
new station alert has arrived.
Sorry about that. That was
Oh,
a
yeah.
that was my aunt. Um, for instance, if both parties work outside of the home and dinner has to be cooked, whoever gets home first could start dinner or help the kids with the homework
Right.
or mop the floor, cut the grass, whatever the case may be. If someone's not feeling well, the other person has to take up the slack.
Right.
I'll give you an example. I was accused of doing masculine work a few years ago because we had some home damage where there was a wall, a hole in our wall that exposed the exterior, and the job was too big for a handyman and too small for a big construction company. This was the middle of hurricane season, and
Mm.
the only people who responded said that they could be here in 2 months to do the work, and we couldn't wait 2 months.
Wow.
So I had to do, I guess, what is considered manly work because Mike couldn't do it by himself. And I'm pretty sure that he preferred me out there swinging a hammer versus making him a sandwich. He didn't need a sandwich at that moment. He needed
Right.
my help. So I think when you take those kinds of everything is situational. Again, you can't say, well, I'm not going to do that because that's man's work. Or I'm not going to do that because that's women's work. It's not man's work. It's not women's work. It's work. It's what needs to be done. So you do what needs to be done. Um, I don't know. There's other things like buying flowers. I don't know. I don't see the need for flowers. I love flowers, but I like them in my backyard.
Right.
I had a conversation with this woman who said that she better get flowers from her husband occasionally, and that he better open the door for her. I mean, if that works for them, I'm not here to judge them. If that works for them, that's cool. But if I can open the door for myself, I'm not going to wait for somebody to open the door for me. If my hands are full, that's a different story. And by the same token, if I'm walking behind somebody and a man has his hands full, I'm going to open the door for the man. I mean, that's just
Right.
common courtesy.
Common courtesy. Right.
So again, I guess you get the gist of what my perspective is. You do what needs to be done. Um, Relationships should be teamwork, and if everybody puts in their part, again, it's what works for you. I'm not saying that how we do what we do is gonna work for everybody. There's some people who insist that you open the door for her. There's
Mhm.
some people that insist I'm the man of the house. You make me a sandwich, and if that works for them, that's cool. I just I just don't see it that way.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your perspective. And there are a lot of really great points in what you said. You were talking about how gender roles and energy expression, whether that's masculine or feminine, should be based on um, situations and needs, not just gender. And I think that is a beautiful thought. And like you said, there are a lot of people who don't work that way. There are a lot of females who, like you said, will be like, I'm not doing anything. I'm going to sit here. I don't care how much help this man needs. That's not my job because he's the man and he should be able to shoulder it all on his own. And that puts a lot of pressure on that person. And then the other end of the spectrum, there are some men who feel like, I'm not cooking, I'm not cleaning, I'm not doing any of those things. I don't care how many kids we have and how crazy the house looks. I'm going to come home and I'm going to sit on this couch and I'm going to wait for you to do your job. And again, that puts a lot of pressure on the partner as well. So I love, the idea that our roles and energetic expression should be based on the needs, the situation of our relationship, not societal expectations or norms, but what we have going on, what we've come to an agreement with.
Exactly. With that said, another thing that I wanted to point out, because I think I might have had this discussion with Michael at one time. Um, Another thing that societal influences are how boys and men treat their emotions. It's not masculine for a boy to cry.
Yes.
If we talk about what a man's role is, what a father's role is, he's the rock. He's the one who we always rely on. Well, what happens when that little boy is sad? What's he supposed to do? What happens when that man
Right.
is feeling emotions? And I think that causes like disharmony if a man is feeling emotions or a boy is feeling emotions that society tells him he's not supposed to feel. I mean, I'm not a man, so I can't say for a fact, but I'm guessing that if the human experience, emotions are part of the human experience, and if he's
Hmm.
feeling those emotions, but the outside world is saying no, you're not supposed to feel those,
Yeah. Yeah.
that has to affect emotional and mental health. So with what I said, everything about whatever works for you. I would caution that when it comes to, especially when we're raising our sons, that we should keep that in mind and avoid phrases like "boys don't cry" or you're the man that we always lean on, or you're always there for us. You're the rock of the family. Anybody could be the rock of the family. It goes by what's needed at the time. Oh, and I think
Right.
somebody else. I'll shut up now.
No, thank you. Thank you. I truly do appreciate that perspective. And we have Erica joining us live. Thank you for joining us, Erica. I just wanted to comment on what you said, Miss Mom. I feel like that is one of the biggest disservices that we have in society now. You know, growing up having these boys feeling like they can't express themselves and then becoming men who literally cannot express themselves because they've never learned how is the reason why we have so much aggression and violence and war and all the things we have going on now, because they have all of these emotions going on within them that they don't have any clue what to do with, and so they rage out and have all this craziness. But it's just like if we would have just took the time to teach them when they were younger, emotions aren't feminine or masculine, they just are. Everyone has them.
Exactly. I
It's
agree
learning what to
100%.
do with them. And
The,
we
the
also
fun
have What's So Real here. Thank you for joining us as well.
part. Hey, what's so real?
Good
Um,
afternoon. I've been trying to
so,
log in. It finally got me in.
so go back to what Miss Mom was saying is very true. It does play a role into uh, being in relationships with people too. As a man, is you're growing up, and then you got to establish relationship with people, but then you're not effectively doing a good job at it because you're emotionally distanced. You are not taught how to process that. And then also another lovely word caveat to that is that women are not also aware of that aware of the obstacle of men too. So that often does cause a rift in relationships with a lot of people nowadays when the emotional aspect is you want somebody you want somebody to talk to, be emotionally supportive, or and they've been taught their entire lives not to be that, not to open up, not to
Mhm.
confide in somebody emotionally. And so we're coming to the realization now that it's not a good thing, and we got to redo all of the hard work. But then it is very crucial and important that everybody needs to be mindful on both sides that
Mm.
when it comes to dealing with men and masculinity and emotions and that tapping into that side of femininity, which emotions is not a gender specific thing, it's human nature kind of thing.
Right.
But it for men, as soon as you come into the word boys don't cry, you don't express yourself.
Man up.
Men
Hmm.
man up, man up. You don't express yourself, and so then you have these boys turning into men, becoming into relationships with people, and they're distant or they're not emotionally in tune to other people's emotions. And then when you come into a female who has always been taught to tap into their emotions and their femininity and their human emotions, and then you get with somebody who's the complete opposite of that, that does kind of make it a lot difficult. And that's one of the biggest challenges in relationships these days
Right. And
and
just
forever, so to speak.
yeah, that is true. Just to bring everybody up to speed. So, Miss Mom, we initially asked the question to Miss Mom, um, what her perspective of how she would define masculinity and femininity, and if she felt like they were fluid or fixed concepts. And I'm going to ask the two of you that same question, Erica and What's So Real. But I'm just going to give you a little summation of what Miss Mom said. So basically, she was saying that she believed that masculine and femininity, there are physical attributes to it, like males have these body parts, females have these that cannot be changed. But then there are characteristics like the colors that we wear, the careers that we have, the jewelry that we wear that aren't aren't specific to any masculine or feminine, they just are. She was talking about the importance of knowing yourself and being able to care for yourself as a human being. Like, I'm a fully functional adult before getting into a relationship with somebody else, so that you're not needing that other person to fulfill you. You're just with that person because you love them and they add to your spiciness already, right? And then she was talking about how roles and energetic expression are really based on the situations or the needs of the relationship versus gender. So, like, if she was walking and there was a man carrying a bunch of boxes and the door needed to be opened, she wouldn't stand there and wait for him to open the door. She would open the door for him, right? Because there is no specifics to gender roles. So that was what she said. So if you two want to chime in and add to it or shift or whatever, we'd love to hear what you guys think about masculinity and femininity.
Who wants to go first?
I'll
Okay,
go.
so
Good
okay, go, Miss
afternoon.
Will.
Huh? I was
Go
able
ahead.
I was able to hear while I was logging in, so I heard some of the things she was saying.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things I did agree with what she was saying. But the great thing that's happening, well, I'm a boy mom, so I'm raising a son, and raising my son, I will hear it all the time from his father, like a woman can't raise a man. A woman can't raise a man. And I remember like really doubting myself about these things. Like, okay, so we departed. So in my mind, I thought, okay, when he turned 13, 14, I'll send him to go live with his dad because his dad
Right.
will teach him more manly things. And then I thought about it, I'm like, but who's going to teach him how to open the door? Who's going to teach him how to be nice to this person? Who's going to teach him like how to cry, how to do? And he's a football player. So you already know he already have that mindset of like, this football player.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
one thing I learned raising my son, I taught him how to cry. I taught him when he got a loss in a football game, it's okay to express that you guys lost. It's okay to know like you can cry that you lost, what you gonna do next,
Right.
right? So raising my son, he's 20 now, and when people meet him, they're just like, "Oh my God, you did such a good job." And
Aw.
I think to myself, like, I almost shipped my son away at 13, 14, thinking, "Oh, he need this man in his life." And even the guys I dated, they would always be like, "It's not I really could teach your son, like he kind of already know," and I would just laugh about it. But yes, did they come and encounter and pour something into him? Yes, they
Mm.
did. But it wasn't to the extreme where toughen up and they're punching him on his chest and they're
Right,
telling
right,
him like, "Oh, I don't want to see no tears." I'm like, nah, you don't cry only when I go to heaven. You can cry now. Let
right.
it out now. So being around my brothers too, we actually was raised where we could cry though. So when women meet my brothers, they're like, "Oh, they're so," and I'm like, "Yeah, because we got to express ourselves." So I
Yeah,
do have encountered people where you could tell they haven't expressed themselves or they don't know how to.
yeah.
So when it does come to masculinity, I did date a guy where when I tell you guys, this man had no feelings. Like I'll be like, "Oh, did you hear such and such died?" And he's like, "Yeah, but and I'm like, "Wait, do you know what I feel?" Like I need to be in bed for 3 days. You okay with like, "Oh, you're going?" I'm like, "Wait, like someone just died."
Keep it moving.
And he had no feeling, no
Yeah,
feeling, no feeling. So I'm like, you know what? I'm noticing things have to happen to people for them to know too, for them to feel it. And I remember when I was dating this guy, his family will always say, "We thank you for being with him." And I'm like, "Why?" They're like, "He never come to no family events. He never do this. He never do that." And I used to just sit there and be like, "They don't even know what I go through." Like, he don't come to a lot of this. I'm like, "Hey, my job is having a Christmas thing where, yeah, that boy have to work overtime all of a sudden." I'm like, no feelings.
mm,
So we had to dig a little deeper. I'm like, nah, something's not right. So as we dated, it became a couple of years, he started opening up. And I realized the root, the childhood traumas,
mm-hmm.
the issues, remember a lot of women, and I don't want to say single women, but a lot of women, when our kids are in sports, we depend on that football coach to be that man in our kids' life. But that's not always a good thing. That's not
Right.
always a great thing. You still have to be present, even though that football coach is pouring into them, whatever athletic sport they're in. But you still, as a parent, have to come back in to redirect that. Because I can say, "Hey, Isaiah, you should drink a protein shake for breakfast, lunch, and dinner if you want to gain weight." It will go over his head. Let Coach Smith say, "I want all the boys to
Yeah,
drink 3 cups of protein." Oh, Coach said I should drink protein shake. I
yeah,
used to be like, "Wait, I'm sorry. I told you the same thing."
yeah,
What took Coach saying that changed your mind? You know what I'm trying to say? So
yeah.
it is a thing too, even with the women and the men and the way we have to deal. So when I was dating this guy, I noticed a lot of his childhood things is playing out now. And I was like, I don't deserve this. I used to always say, I don't deserve his ways of doing things. So what ended up happening, I became very independent. I'll do my own thing. If I say we're getting a house or we're getting this, we're getting that, I'm on it. I'm meeting with the realtor. I'm doing this and I'm doing it. Because I'm like, by the time I wait for you, we're not going anywhere. So I have to be the one
Yeah.
to start building. So guess what ended up happening? A season of our life, I became very masculine.
Yeah.
Miss Mom was saying about flowers. Yeah, I buy myself flowers. And I'd be like, oh yeah, I swiped the card, even if it was our money. But I was like, I bought myself flowers, and he'd be like, who bought you flowers? I was like, oh, I did. But nothing clicked in his mind though. Oh, she likes flowers. I should give her more flowers.
No,
So
she's gonna
I
buy
would
them for
watch,
herself.
right? And I would keep it real. If you was to come over, I would not say, oh my God, John bought me flowers. Now I'd be like, yeah, I purchased my flowers. And then he's looking like, wait, why she didn't tell them I did it? No, because you didn't.
Okay.
So now I became very, very masculine. And I remember my transition doing everything on my own. Like she was saying, a doorknob. By the time I asked you to screw that on, I'm already like, yo, where's the thing? Like, let me get this done. By the time I asked you to change that light bulb, it was like too much for me to
Yeah.
keep asking and asking and asking. And then and it's crazy because I went through that, right? And then I went through another phase where someone was like, you need to dumb down a little. You make him feel like you don't need him. And I'm like, mentally, I'm like, I do, but I don't, but I do it, but I don't. And it was coming from another guy though. He was like, I feel like he feels you don't need him. And y'all know where the end of that story went.
Yeah, yeah,
We broke
yeah. I
up.
mean, yeah. Okay. I mean, there's a lot to go in there. There's a lot to go in there.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot to go in there. We're gonna Jordan. You got anything?
No, but well, yes, that was a perfect example. You know, one of the things that always comes up for me when we're talking about gender and and masculine and feminine is that a lot of times females become more masculine, whether they're naturally feminine or not. They become more masculine because of negative experiences that
In
they've
the
had, and
relationship.
now they have to, or like single parents. Erica, I see you have something to say. Come on, chime in.
Hi, yes, I do.
Good
I
morning.
can relate a lot with Miss Wood because I feel like I'm a masculine woman, but I don't want to be. I feel like the world made me this way,
Right.
and I feel like if there was a man that would take on that masculinity role in my life, then I'm like, oh, this will be great. But it just doesn't work like that because I feel like going back to the childhood, I feel like we've raised our men to not have feelings, to not cry, to not feel anything. And I think that the adults that we are dealing with now in this world, it plays a part in it. And it makes the women who they are now because the men are who they are. You know, I, I do agree on that most definitely. I don't want to be masculine, but at this point, the world just
Right.
makes women that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to chime in of what both of y'all are saying, unfortunately, that is the outcome. That is the end result of what years of mental conditioning and emotional trauma has played in the role, where women are sought to deal with this kind of thing. Where it's like we're not in tune. We're like it took me a long time, and it took me a lot of dates, a lot of
Mhm.
mingling with women, and then also a lot of internal self growth to understand my root cause of why I do the things that I do. And a lot of us men are not putting in that work
Right.
in that aspect. And I also feel like a lot of women ain't also putting in that work to also understand like you said, you raising a boy who's a man now, but then your formality of raising him is different compared to everybody else that you could dated, where it's like you said, we ain't taught to cry. We ain't taught to express ourselves. Like even when you like outside of the female, you get around your other males, and that's that animalistic male mentality behavior where man up, don't be a B, don't be a P, man up, toughen up. You get shot in the leg, toughen up. Hey, walk
Right.
it off. First thing coach always says when you hurt something or you broke something, walk it off. Don't cry, walk it off. You know what I'm saying? Playing football, ankle sprained out, just completely folded. Walk it off. You just hopping. You know what I mean? You can't cry. You can't cry. You got to man up. You got to man up. Yo, it's like, I mean, playing in sports and anything else. So then it's like when you get into a relationship, unfortunately, our masculinity is a guy said this on one of these podcasts as I was watching, and about to be masculine and feminine is important for male and female, because when you are with each other, you're bleeding into each other, and it's important to basically to be multivocal in that aspect. And for women, they become masculine. There's nothing wrong with that, but then it's like, okay, cool, you're a masculine woman, that's fine. But then now it's like the communication aspect of it, of when it is involved the dating. are we communicating that why we are masculine? Why are we not feminine? Why do we not have these emotional traits? It's hard to have that conversation. And like you said, it took over time to have that conversation for you to understand why he is the way that he is. His strong masculine behavior and the lack of emotions and everything else like that. It took a long time for you to get to that point. So that means he ain't doing the work for himself to understand why is he like that. It's scary. It's hard from a personal standpoint. It is very scary and hard to look into the mirror and understand that you have issues, you have traumas, and all of those things play a role into you. And then it's like you don't know what you're gonna be like once you confront that part of you in the mirror and actually put in that mental health work for yourself. So in the masculine role of putting out thousands of years of like JY said in the last podcast, over what is it, 5,000 years of work of like hunter, protector, provider, and then you gotta like all of a sudden come into an era where that's all you know, but then
We're
women
asking you to be emotional.
where women are asking you to be emotional and be in tune to that. And that's kind of hard when genetically speaking, you've been taught to be this way thousands of years. And then now you're coming to a point where, no, we want you to communicate. We want you to be emotionally intelligent. We want you to be emotionally aware. And that's an area where not everybody was capable of being able to, they had the ability to tap into, to know that's what they want, to know that's an important quality, an important skill to have. So as far as the masculinity aspect goes of it, it's an up and down. I'm not sure if we're still on the same topic of it, of
We
femininity.
are. We are.
But yeah, it is a little bit different though. It is a little bit different and challenging, I would say.
What I want to say, thank God we do have the ability to finally get to a place in your life where you can unlearn to relearn.
Mm,
And the
mm,
quicker you do that, the quicker things will fall into place. And I don't think it's an age thing. But it for me, I always tell people I do not want to be 60 and still stuck. Cause
yeah.
being around our older my mom, her siblings or whatever, and they're in those age, and I'm like, oh my God, they're still talking about things that happened, in the past or childhood trauma. So I will always say that. So being in the season of unlearning to relearn is an awesome feeling. Yes, you're going to face yourself. Yes, you're going to be put in a position where you're like, oh my God, I didn't even know I was like that. I don't know if you ladies went through this phase, but I went through a tomboy or tom girl phase, whatever they want to call
Mm-hmm.
it. Like every Jordan, every day. I used to think me wear heels, never. He's just gonna have to deal with me with all my shoes. And if it's like that, I'm gonna marry an athlete so he could just buy me shoes, shoes, shoes. You're right. When you started getting older, you're going to these clubs and they're like, no sneakers. You're like, okay, you can't enter. Now we'll bring sneakers and heels and be like, let's see if they say anything. Okay, let's go to the car and get these heels and then be there in pain and like so I will always say I would never wear heels. They would never catch me. But it happens when you start dating, you realize, no, I need to, bring out these Beyonce heels.
Yeah,
I need to do
shift.
this.
Mm-hmm.
Have to shift. And Miss Mom said something too, and I don't know well, Miss Mom said something that stuck to me too, because I remember when I was dating, people would be like, oh, you're doing wifey thing, but you're a girlfriend. And I would have this statement where I say, okay, I'm hungry, my son's hungry, he's hungry. I think we should eat, right? And that was
Right.
my way of looking at it. But people will come to you and say, oh, you're a girlfriend, but you're doing wifey things. So y'all don't want me to clean my house? Like, we live here. I know I'm not the wife yet, but I live here. I need to clean. That doesn't mean I'm doing wifey thing, but I'm still a girlfriend.
Right.
If that makes sense. I don't know, because Miss Mom was saying that how I think she was seeing her husband needing her at a certain time as
Yeah.
community
Mm-hmm.
women as it did, and I get it because it is a
Right.
time when you come together. What Mike was saying when you're he said bleeding into each other, but when you come together, you
Right.
start moving on one accord without the titles. You just like, okay, what we're doing today? We're spring cleaning. I'm gonna go get
Right.
this, you're gonna do this. I'm not gonna sit there and be like, oh no, I'm gonna go shopping. When I get back, I'll think to make sandwiches. No.
Right. You're meeting the need. Right. There's a need. I'm gonna meet it.
So going for me and whoever else, I have realized you have to do it for you. So when Erica said the world made us like that, it's a point in my life I had to stop, drop, and say, wait, my character is going too many places. Going to my aunt that's been married 30 years. It's going to my single sister. And everyone have all these opinions.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, I need to stop and say, okay, what do I want? What's
Yes.
my message?
Exactly.
Thank you, Miss Mom. And what goes out to this guy? Believe it or not, it's crazy. I don't have that much exes, but I'm still cool with them because I always understood like it's bigger than me. Like we dated, we had our moments or whatever, but it's like it's really no pressure because what really happened was I stopped and dropped and went to therapy and seeked help and poured into my son. My son and I used to ride home crying because I had a long day at work. He had a long day at football practice. So it was like moments where we're like, let's just go to the movies because we having a moment.
Oh.
And then we're like, okay, we're better. Now we're ready to conquer football. We're ready to conquer the world wherever I work. But it was those moments. And I know the guy I dated, he would always say, oh, you're such a good mom. I can't wait for you to have kids for me. And in my head, I'm like, bro, you don't understand. It's work, but I'll do my best if I do ever birth for you. But they see that too. So y'all know what I'm trying to say. You have to know where your masculinity at, especially when you're meeting that person.
Right.
Because there'll be times where he'll be like, can I open the door for you? Just let me open the door for you. But I'm like, I was already up front, but I get it. Then one day I'm standing in front of the door, the car door. I'm like, okay, he said, let him open the door. He's like, hey, get in the car. I was like, okay. So
the
I'm like,
progressive area has caught up to you at this point in time.
he's trying. So sit in the car and wait. He's by the door. I'm like, okay, get out the car. But I'm like, he's trying. Do I call it out? Do I listen? I just leave it alone at this point. It was funny. I'm like, wow. But yeah, it goes back to that. You have to know, like what I said, I heard Miss Mom and I understood what she was saying, but that takes time too. Or that was just her personality, and when she connected with the person she connected with, she understood. Like this is what we do, and it won't work for other people. And like she said about the flowers, I had a friend, a coworker that would tell me, "I hate flowers," and she's married. Then married, so in my mind, I'm like, "But I like flowers." My husband don't need to get me flowers, and I'm like, "What?" And I was confused, and I was 21, confused. Like, wait, do my husband buy me flowers, or he don't? Do he not? And that's where I realized, you know what? I gotta do what's best for me. I like flowers. You don't. Your husband don't buy
Okay.
you flowers. I don't know. So that's where I'm at too with the masculinity and what was the other one?
Femininity. Yeah, that's a
Femininity. That's where I'm at.
Femininity.
I'm really in my own zone. I'm unlearning to relearn.
Hey.
What
thank
I want, what
you.
I like, what I don't want, how I want to help, how I don't want to
Yes.
help. I'm gonna be honest. I don't want to change tires.
Yeah, I
I got
got you.
too much papitos and too much tire shops around me to sit and be like, I'm changing this tire. It is too hot. But I used to it and have knowledge of what changing a tire is. Of course, I want to learn, but I don't want to put in action. I'm going and I'm gonna pay to get my tire changed because I have girls around me that are like, oh, we got to learn how to change tires. Yeah, you could learn it, but you don't have to do it to show a guy you could change a tire. I don't know what's sexy about that.
I don't know
Just
either,
for
but I
the
don't know.
racetrack
I
people.
look at it like this. I look at it like this. And then I'm gonna say this, and then we're gonna get everybody else a shot. I'm gonna say this.
Yes,
Yes.
I look
yes,
at it like this. The ability for you to learn how to change a tire is like you pick your man up from the hospital. Whatever for whatever he got a bum leg, cast shoulder,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
You catch a flat. It ain't hot outside. What you gonna do?
AAA car
Yep.
All
insurance.
right, bet. Hey, okay, cool.
It's called
I'm
being
saying you
safe
good.
and it's
But
called
the
having
fact,
wisdom.
no, like I said, but the fact that you're able to do that, the fact that
Right.
you still can do that is a good skill to have. It's a good skill
Right.
to have. So I'm
We're
gonna
gonna
go.
Erica first and then Miss Mom.
Okay, Miss Erica, go ahead.
I just wanted to touch on one little thing about I heard you say about the cooking and the cleaning. Oh, you're doing like wifey duties or wifely duties. I just want to say like I'm a boy mom once again, and I just like I want to raise my son to say like it's okay for men to like cook and to clean, and
Yes.
like because I don't want my son thinking that you need a woman to cook and clean. I want you to be able to do this on your own because you're
Right.
your own person, you know.
Right.
And you're like, since you are our person, why can't you cook and why can't you clean and why can't you do like, I don't necessarily, I don't know, I think I just, for me speaking, personally speaking, like that's how I want, you know, my son to be raised. And I feel like, you know, everyone else has, you know, other views on it, but I think it's very important that to teach your kids like, hey, let's cook together, like, or and express yourself, let's clean up together, it's okay. That's not
Right.
necessarily like, I feel like, I don't know. And I also have one more other thing to say about the counseling. I feel like a lot of times, like when adults go through so much like trauma and so like things that they have going on in their life, they don't know how to express themselves and stuff like that. I feel like they're scared to go and say, hey, I need help.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like since people don't know how to say, hey, I need help, they just go out and do all this crazy stuff. They drink, they
Mm-hmm.
do drugs and all this stuff because they don't know how to express themselves, because they think that, oh, this is what my life is supposed to be like, because this is
Right.
what my family told me, or this is what it was
Right.
supposed to be. So that's all I have to say on that.
Yeah. And there is such a stigma with mental health. Go ahead.
No, no, and you're right on that. Erica, when you talk about like teaching your kid, it's important to understand and teach your son. He has to know how to do those things because at some point in time, he's going to get married, and his wife is not going to be able to do those things when she gives birth. She's going to have to be on bed rest. Then who's going to cook? Who's going to clean? Now that he has to make that shift from protector to provider to nurturer.
Right.
And so it's important to install those skills into him now and explain to him why he needs to learn these skills so he can basically be an effective partner in a relationship with somebody somewhere down the line. Because it is important to have a multifaceted of abilities to basically engage with people and also be a functional person in itself. Even if he's not with somebody, he should still know how to cook up for himself. He should still know how to sew a button on a shirt, and he should still
Exactly.
know how to clean things. You know what I mean? Because I mean, well, you're in a day and age you can buy takeout and you can pay somebody to do all those things, but it is very important for you to know how to basically do that
Yeah.
when you're trying to get into a relationship with anybody, and that's the thing. And and a good point, my cousin pointed out that my dad was a chef and he taught he taught a good amount of us to cook certain things and dishes, and my mom was also a cook though too, so it wasn't like I learned cooking from her. I learned cooking from him and the creativity of doing things from a chef
Mm-hmm.
and his perspective of it. But yeah, it's very important for children to know on both sides the roles that they can play. And like what Real said, like changing the tire may not be the thing, but light bulb, doorknob, things of that nature. Ain't nothing wrong with basically being able to do those roles and making that
Right.
shift. There's nothing wrong with that. It's important to basically be again multifaceted and having skills like a Swiss Army knife to basically be able to do one thing or another when the time calls for it. You know what I mean?
Right.
What you was
Miss,
gonna say, Twitter?
I was just gonna turn it over to Miss Mom. What
Oh, Miss
she was
Mom.
gonna say.
Hello. Um,
Yee.
I think we kind of caught on the whole concept that there's no necessarily masculine work or feminine work. It's just work that needs to be done. It's things that we need to do to be self-reliant, to be independent, and
Mm-hmm.
then again to be who we are, so that when we're with somebody else, it's a, oh, wait a minute, a sum of the parts. Oh, you see what I did
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
um when 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 we bring what we have to the table, it allows us to go forward. I think when we get stuck in labeling things as masculine or feminine, I saw when was so real said masculine in quotation, in air quotes. I like that because it's what society says are masculine things or feminine things, but really we shouldn't be using those words. It's again work that needs to be done. Whoever needs to do it, when it needs to be
Right.
done, it needs to be done. I think it's really that simple. Um, I I think we become stagnant when we just wait around for somebody to do something, or we create like butting heads when we let outside influences tell us what we need to do when we who are in a relationship know what needs to be done. We decide, not the movies, not a song, not your 80-year-old aunt, and I say, well, 93-year-old aunt who said that I was doing masculine work. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, but we're entitled to do what we need to do.
And
Yeah. Thank you. What were you gonna say?
nah, and that's important. It's like at the end of the day, where just how you ladies get that same influence and that same response from women questioning your femininity, questioning your ability of being a person in a relationship. The same thing goes for men when for a second, for a fraction of a second, they're tapping into that moment of femininity. You hear, "Hey, man up, bro." And you just like, oh wait, talking about that hurt, but I hear you. I hear you. Let me stop. Let me stop. Let me stop. Let's not cry. Let's not tap into our emotions. Let's focus. And that's the thing where it's like a lot of it's out there on a continuous basis, and it's very important to basically be self-aware of the person that you are talking to, that you are engaging with, that they are putting in that work to basically unlearn and try to
Mm-hmm.
relearn things, because it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's hard. You never gonna forget, but you have to be in a place to choose to stay where you was at,
Mm.
or to be progressive. And to be progressive is not only like, oh, to leave everything behind. It's just to basically, this is where I came from, this is where I'm going. You can always remember and reflect upon that, but don't stay there. Just keep it going and keep it
Right.
moving, and try to grow and learn and be a better version of yourself every day. And it is like it's hard, and I know it's hard for men, because I'm speaking from a man's point of view, that to tap into that quote unquote femininity aspect of it is different. Because like on the last podcast, we had men that they all could cook, they all could clean, they all do the roles, and you know what I mean. And what people may seem to be like, oh, you're feminine, you wearing an apron, you cooking, you cleaning. It's like, don't you got a girl? Don't you? It's like you gotta. Well, again, I hear what you're saying, bro, but that's not the world I live in.
Right.
That's not what I subscribe to. So I gotta basically be something completely different, and I choose to be that different person when it comes to being in a partner. When it comes to being in a relationship with my partner. So, got something to say, Miss Mom?
Yeah. I was just thinking about all this. I think I think if we look at it as a sense, in a sense of, or in the aspect of practicality, we hear about how little girls grow up all their lives dreaming about what their wedding would be, and then
Mm-hmm.
women who go out and spend like hundreds of thousands, well, not maybe not hundreds, tens of thousands of dollars on this big lavish wedding.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's impractical. You spend $100,000 on a wedding because it's what you've always dreamed of, because they tell you you're supposed to wear this, I don't know, $10,000 dress, and
Yeah.
all the things that go on, what we see in magazines. That was never me. I believe it should be a celebration. So celebrate, spend money on food, spend money on music, but that $100,000 that you would have spent on a wedding, use it as a down payment on a house. Practical, not being influenced by what society tells you
Right.
that you should have,
Right.
or the 2 carat diamond, or whatever it is, so you're gonna be wearing all this money on your finger because that's what society influences us to believe, when that money could go to better use. So again, don't let society influence you. Do what you need when you need it.
Yeah, and that is so true. Everybody has said so many fantastic things about masculinity, femininity, and then gender roles. And the thing that I always like to think when I think about the two is that A lot of times we hear people talking about just getting rid of masculinity and femininity altogether. But for me, it's understanding that masculine and feminine are energies that everybody has. But it's how we choose to express those energies that makes each and every one of us unique, makes each and every one of us different. In an ideal world, we should be balanced. There are some times where I have to be feminine or I want to be feminine because of what's going on. There are some times where I want to be masculine because of what's going on, like whether I need to change a tire or whether I'm going to a ball. Like being able to be fluid within myself, not in respect to society, but just as a human being able to be fluid and accepting that there are times when I'm masculine and there are times when I'm feminine based on what's going on around me. When we think about masculine energy, we think of being assertive, right? We think of being action oriented. I'm doing, I'm going, I'm all the things. I'm logical and I'm reasonable and I'm independent, right? And I'm a leader. That's masculine energy. It doesn't mean that that's coming from a man. It just means that I'm in my masculine energy at this time. So when I go to work as a female, I may be in my masculine energy because that's what my job calls for. Then on the other hand, when you think about feminine energy is that nurturing, that intuition, that sense of creativity and collaboration, community, that sensuality. That's feminine energy. And there are positives and negative, high and low frequencies of both feminine and masculine. When we think about toxic masculinity or toxic femininity, when you have somebody who's super aggressive or super rigid, like Wood was talking about with the guy who didn't have any emotions, right? That's the unhealthy aspect of masculinity. It doesn't mean that that's only available in men. There are some women who are like that too, that are super rigid and super structured. I can't do anything but this right here because they're so deep in their masculinity that they can't see any other way out. There is no sense of balance or shift or fluidity, right? And so with that, when we have these conversations, I love for people to recognize that masculine and feminine are energies that everybody encompasses. They're not specific to any gender, right? And being specific about the words that we use, because our words matter, right? Male, meaning you are born with, certain genetic characteristics, you are male. Female, I'm born with these characteristics, I am female, right? I can be a masculine female, I can be a feminine male. There's nothing wrong with either one of those things. It's just how I choose to express my energy in this moment right now. So, with that being said, I thank all of you for your input. Like, such a beautiful conversation. Is there any last minute things that you guys want to chime in on? We got like 7 minutes left.
Feel free. Not everybody jump out at once. Yeah, it's okay. Take your time.
Well, I just want to thank you for inviting me. And again, I'm very proud of you, Michael. Um, I also want to thank you for making me feel a lot less nervous. Like you said, it's just a conversation. So
Yeah.
thank you, and thank you for having the conversation. I think a lot of people need to have this conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Keep up the good work.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Miss
Miss
Mom.
Mom. Yes.
Appreciate you.
Just going back, thank you for inviting me too. Michael tried to get me on earlier, but I was in service. I was like, I'm coming. But thank you so much. But one thing I will say, the unlearn to
Yes.
relearn is great. Therapy
Yeah.
is awesome.
Yes.
Um, just once again, just knowing you and how you move about things. And yes, I do take people's opinion, and I'm like, okay, but when you get to know you and you know what you want to do,
Right.
things just fall in place. So that's what I
Right.
want to say. But thank you so much for having
Thank
me.
you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us. I appreciate you, Wood.
You're welcome.
Erica, what you got for us?
Or do you have anything?
Or do you
Any
have?
I
question?
just want to say thank you guys for inviting me, and I do also want to piggyback on Miss Mom that this conversation I feel like needs to be had. Now, I really hope that this podcast get out so everyone can like listen and put like a little, like maybe like a seed in their brain. It's like, and just make them start thinking about, well, maybe if this or maybe I should, So I think this
Right.
was a great topic and a great conversation for
Yeah.
people to hear.
You guys should
Thank
definitely
you.
feel free to share it. We're definitely we're on, like I said, we're on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. So definitely come on in. Feel free to share it. Don't leave it up to us. Please, we need all the help we can get.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So yeah, thank you guys for joining us though, for real.
And everybody talked about a lot of really good points, talking about the importance of one being able to ask for help, going back to the masculine aspect of it and feeling like, teaching our boys that to be masculine means that you can't be vulnerable, you can't ask for help. And then as females learning that through our experiences with people that, I ask for help and I don't get it, so I can't ask for help. So now I'm in this space where there's a need and it's not being met, and I feel like I need to be hyper independent and meet it on my own. So gender regardless, having that sense of hyper independence, wanting to encourage everybody, it's okay to ask for help. If you need it, use your words. People are not psychic out here. We were talking about in a couple episodes, shoot your shot. Same thing applies for getting help, right? If you need help, put it out there. If nobody can help you, cool, then you do what you was going to do anyways. But if not, you just got all this help that you wouldn't have got if you would have just plowed through it. I gotta do this on my own because I'm the only one who could do it, right? Because that's usually what we do. What's so real? I see you over there chatting. What you saying?
What was the other episode about, shooting your shot?
Oh, we did an
In
episode
the
about
DMs? In the
nice
DMs?
guys finishing last. And so we were saying, if you're a nice guy or girl, nice person, you can't just expect for the other person to know that you like them. You got to shoot your shot, whether it's in the
Right.
DMs, whether it's in person, whatever it
I
is,
You gotta
shoot
say
your
what you
shot.
gotta say. Say what you feel. Say what you
I
feel.
receive.
You know what I mean? But what the time on what Jordan was saying and about the communication is very, very important. How Will was saying when she likes flowers and then it's over the guy's head. The part about like being with somebody is you're going to continue in relationships. We're continuously teaching each other. We're continuously educating each other. So it's learning us. It's learning something. So in he doesn't get me flowers. Communicate. Hey, I like flowers. Do you?
Right.
Yeah, hey, I like flowers. Hey, I like flowers. And then that becomes a natural thing to know. Hey, she
Right.
likes flowers. Let me get her flowers. Let me do it out of a spring. Versus, I'm gonna just get it myself and just be like, oh, I got it myself. It's like you got to constantly remind people because again, you are fully aware of the trauma that is being played, and
Right.
as you're with them and they're feeling more comfortable, they're feeling more vulnerable enough to unpack that to you. You're now you have to now you have to choose to operate in a different notion of where okay, cool, now I know. So now I'm gonna just tell you what I want versus assuming that you should know what I want. If you
Right.
weren't listening before, now I'm gonna make sure. Hey, listen, look at me, right here. Okay,
Focus.
flowers. I like flowers. Yeah. I like roses. I like tulips. You know what I'm saying? I like orchids. Take your pick. Once a month is cool. Set a schedule for them. That's all. Just let them know once
Right.
a month. If
But
you
even
know what I'm
go
saying?
ahead.
No, like I'm just saying, let them know. Set schedules. That's it. You know what I mean? Set a schedule for flowers and stuff like that. I mean, it works for some people, it may not, but find something that's going to be within you to make that work. I'm just giving you from a male's perspective or opinion. Where if you tell me straight up, this is what you like, and you want it once a month. All right, cool. Once a month. I'm just picking a day every month. Just 1 month to just be like, okay, 1 month on the 15th, I got it here. 1 month on the 20th, I got it here. Boom, done.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're getting it. You know what I mean? What you was gonna
But
say? Jay?
even piggybacking off of what you said, and this is not related to masculine and feminine, we on a side tangent here, but go with us. Like he was saying in terms of getting flowers or any of the things, when you're communicating your needs, and that person, like Will was talking about with the guy holding the door, and sometimes he would, and sometimes he wouldn't. The thing that encourages people is on those times that he does, celebrate him. Just like with, like how we train dogs. I hate relating people to dogs, but people get this. Like when you train a dog, dogs learn when you celebrate them. You go crazy, you got the high pitched voice, you're doing all the crazy stuff. You don't have to get all crazy like that for your partner. But when they're doing the things that you like, celebrate them. And they'll remember, oh, I felt good when she, recognized me because I called, or recognized me because I got her flowers, or recognized me because I held the door. Let me do this thing more often. Versus she got crazy because I didn't do this. Oh God, like I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, right. So when we learn to celebrate people versus trying to punish them, pull them down, they learn a whole lot better.
They do. They do.
I agree, and that goes with our kids. I'm pretty sure with Erica with the
Yeah.
boys, like when they lose in those football games, basketball games, they knew no matter what, we were still going out for ribs. Like, okay,
Yeah.
we're still going to the rib place. I'm like, yes, we are.
Yeah.
Win
We're
or
gonna
lose,
celebrate. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. You know
win
what I
or
mean?
lose,
All
we're
right.
still going out to eat ice cream, everything.
Right.
You know what
Yeah,
I
so
Right.
mean?
it's a balance. But I
Yeah.
agree. Thank you guys.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank
I'm
you.
a, I'm
Such a great
No.
conversation.
I'll definitely let Alexa know to remind him for those.
That's a good one though. That's a good one. Tell Alexa.
Yeah, tell Alexa to tell. Hey, don't forget to get her flowers today, okay?
Right. Set a reminder every 28 days. That way it's not on the same exact day every month. That's the secret. Set a reminder every 28 days to remind him to get me some flowers. There's the deal.
That.
But yeah, thank you all for joining us. Such a great conversation. I appreciate everyone's input. Mike, you have any last minute thoughts or things?
I love everybody for coming in today. I really do appreciate you guys. Again, please share, subscribe. If you haven't followed us on YouTube, please do. Tell your friends, tell your family. Definitely follow us on YouTube. Also on Facebook and Instagram. And, I follow some of you on Twitter, but I mean, not Twitter, TikTok, but definitely follow us, man. Share this information and stay tuned for more as time goes on. We're going to be hitting up different discussions. And please, don't hesitate to chime in at any given point in time. The link is always there. Remember, every other Sunday, we're doing this.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode. Remember, as always, that our goal is not to dictate conclusions, but to encourage self-reflection and open and honest dialogue. And we truly appreciate it. So we invite you to keep the conversation going in the comments, all the wonderful things. We'd love to see your thoughts and your stories and perspectives and all that good stuff. And until next time, we hope you guys have a fantastic week. Bye.
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 Bye.